Om Namo Narayana and welcome back. We are on Chapter 8, Canto 4. We're going to be starting with verse 62, but before I do, I just want to say a few words because in the last video, if you watched it, it was getting longer and I didn't want to go too long by blah 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 like I do. Thought came to me about this chapter. Actually, it's a thought connected to something I said long ago in a video. So, in a video, I think it was in Canto 3, I commented on how we got sort of a Genesis story about the world multiple times. We kept getting a Genesis story. Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, and the lotus flower, and another, and like, kept repeating. And at one point, I think I said, it feels like this book is repeating itself. And then later, either in that same video or another one, I went, no, it's not. It's taking this idea from a very big view, and the first time it talks about this, it's a big picture thing. And then the next time it focuses in, gets a little more micro, wrong direction. And then the next time. And so we went from the birth of the world with Lord Shiva in the lotus flower to then the birth of the demons and the people and the world, and we got right down. And I'm looking at this chapter and the bit I read in this last video, and I realized that yes, we have seen a lot of this before. Yes, it may feel like it's repeating, but I think it's the same things happening here that I've just mentioned. It's zooming down. We've talked so much theology until now, but in the last video, he literally gives us a mantra to say, and Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he tells us what to do with that mantra. And he gets right down, and I say he, I mean the author, gets very detailed on a level we actually haven't been on before. We've not been in a place in this book where it's detailed the actual rituals or the mantras. It's just said pray and worship and give bhakti, but we're getting more and more focused in. So it's very interesting when you read this because you think you're seeing the same thing, but it's really not. The ideas are just being developed and fine-tuned and refined, and it's very interesting to me and. Yeah, it's just, you put the book down and you think about it and you go like, oh wow, what did I just read? It's worth going back and rereading or watching the video again. So anyways, let's dive in, finish up chapter 8, starting with verse 62. When Dhruva Maharaja, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvana, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. After Dhruva entered Madhuvana forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification? Replied, O best of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee. My dear Brahmana, the face of my son was just like a lotus flower. I am thinking of his precarious condition. He is unprotected, and he might be very hungry. He might have lain down somewhere in the forest, and the wolves might have attacked him to eat his body. Just see how I was conquered by my wife. Just imagine my cruelty out of love and affection for the boy who was just trying to get up on my lap, but I did not receive him, nor did I even pat him for a moment. Just imagine how hard-hearted I am. The great sage replied, "My dear king, please do not be aggrieved about your son. He is well protected by the Lord. Although you have no actual information of his influence, his reputation is already spread all over the world. Your son is also very competent. He will perform activities which would be impossible even for great kings and sages. Very soon he will complete his task and come back home. You should know that he will also spread your reputation all over the world." King Uttanpada, after being advised by Narada Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent like the gods of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son, Dhruva. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaja, having arrived at Madhuvana, took his bath in the river Yamuna as instructed, and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the first month, Dhruva Maharaja ate only fruits and berries on every third day, only to keep his body and soul together, and in this way he progressed in his worship of the Lord. In the second month, he ate only every 6 days. For his edibles he took dry leaves and grass. Thus he continued his worship. In the third month he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Lord, who is adored by selected verses. In the fourth month he became a complete master of the breathing exercise, and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Lord. By the 5th month, this son of the king had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands, without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Para-Brahman. He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind, without diversion to anything else, upon the form of the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaja thus captured the Lord, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities, the 3 worlds began to tremble. The king's son kept himself steadily standing on one leg. The pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried in a boat rocks the boat left and right with every step. Thus, when Dhruva Maharaja became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, the total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating and his closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked up, and all the great demigods and all the planetary systems felt suffocated and thus took shelter of the Lord. The demigods said, "Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non-moving living entities. We feel all living entities to be suffocating, their breathing processes choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of all surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. Kindly save us from this danger." The Lord replied, "My dear demigods, do not be perturbed by this. It is due to the severe austerity and full determination of the son of King Uttanpada, who is now fully absorbed in thought of me. He has obstructed the universal breathing process. You can safely return to your respective homes. I shall stop this boy and his severe acts of austerities, and you will be saved from this situation." Thus ends chapter 8. This may sound foolish to say, but please do not imitate what the boy is doing. Do not eat berries every so many days. Do not live on breath only. You will die. You will die very quickly, actually, and it will be very painful and very horrible. And there are monks in Japan called the marathon monks. They run marathons in the hills, and they'll run 50 miles in a day. It's insane. Most of us can't do that like they do it. And there is a point in one of their rituals where they isolate themselves. You might hear my kitty during the video trying to chime in. They isolate themselves for, it's like 10 days, and they just sit in front of a fire, and they are to keep the fire going. They don't eat, and they don't drink. They used to do this, maybe it was 12 days or 10 days. Now it's like 8 days, because no one survived not eating and not drinking for 10 days. Literally, the monks would have their insides just atrophy and dissolve. Your body can't do it. They're not doing this. and they have failed when they've tried to do this, they don't do it anymore. So don't you do it. I know. To say this probably sounds so stupid for some of you. Like, yeah, of course we're not going to try to breathe only once every 6 days. But you know what? People do. So my guru has also mentioned the austerities. He's actually given an example. There's this famous monk who just keeps his hand up like this, and his hand doesn't move anymore. You may know who that monk is. I don't remember his name right now. There's other monks like this who have done things. They've tried to stand on one leg. They try to do this. Or there's one who like grew his fingernails forever long. My guru, who has practiced in India, who speaks Sanskrit, who is amazing, who knows these scriptures, I believe, better than just about anyone alive, has said you do not need to do that. It is not necessary, and it actually maybe goes just a little bit too far. It's not bad. You can do it. If that's what you feel called to do, that's what you need to do. But you don't need to do it. So if you're reading this going, oh, that's what I need to do, not necessarily. There's a difference between reading something and going, oh, I should do that, versus being called to do it. So I give this warning out because people do some crazy things. And I don't want you to get hurt because I'm advocating something, because I'm not. I'm simply reading a book. I personally do not advocate that you do anything like this that will endanger your body. Because if you die, how are you going to spread the message of the Lord tomorrow if you're not here? So please don't die. Take care of yourself. And if you're sick and ill, who's going to want to convert to your religion? Oh, I want to be Hindu and starve myself. No, it's not going to work. Be healthy. Be strong in your mind. Be strong in your soul. Be strong in your body. I look at this more like, I knew this vegetarian once, and he was very spiritual. And he goes, "Yeah, no, I'm vegan, whatever." But he goes, "Once in a while, I get really stressed, and I have a hamburger. Yes, I run to the bathroom afterwards, and I'm sitting in there for a while." But he goes, something happens, and I just kind of all the stress goes into that hamburger, and I need it. And then I won't touch it again. Because sometimes you have to do something a little different. That's how I see this book. Maybe you're in a rut, maybe you do something, and you need to do something different. But please don't hurt yourself. Please don't kill yourself. Please don't don't be like a breatharian, the people who live on air only, because they really don't. They're really not. And as for these gurus you see in India who have extreme austerities, first of all, they have health problems. They really, really do. And second, they live in a society where people are bringing food to them on a daily basis and honoring them and worshiping them. If you did that here in America, you'd just be a bum on the street, and you might easily freeze to death in the winters and starve to death on the street, because no one here is worshiping bums and bringing them food and honoring them. And this is a society that doesn't let people live on the street. And so please don't do this. Yeah, I just feel like I have to say that. It's just like the small print. And every so often I put this on this channel. Just take these words figuratively. Don't take them literally. Also, I believe this tale took place pre-Kali Yuga. The world was different then. I've said this before. Things happen. I like to say that we lost magic. Makes me sad, so I don't say that too much, but we lost magic. So don't imitate the book. Just take it figuratively. Learn the lesson that's to be taught by this person. Don't try to imitate them. You can argue that point with me, and you can say, no, we should all be doing austerities, but I don't feel convinced. So I'm going to leave that there, and we'll start chapter 9 in the next bit. And thank you for hanging out with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.